Hello everyone and welcome to a special interview we've got planned for you today. My name is Sasha, host of the Young Women's Edition, and as we gear up and prepare for season 2 of the show, I am joined here today by 21-year-old activist and president of KNZ, Mariah Zammit, where we're going to hear more about what the National Council of Youth is doing in Malta for Malta's youths. Mariah, thank you for joining us today. I think it's important for people out there to hear more about Malta's Council for Youth, so let's get straight into it. I want to start off by hearing a bit about you, your activism, and the work that you do for KNZ. Tell me about it.
Well, thank you for the invite. Basically, I'm a 21-year-old student. I'm studying bachelor's in psychology, currently working on my dissertation. And when it comes to KNZ, I've been part of KNZ now for 2 years and 8 months into my presidency. And I mean, I love it. It's part of my life. It's my full-time job, almost. And I'm so passionate about it. It's like my little baby. And I'm trying my best. I have such a stellar team. And together we're trying to give youth the importance and the relevance that they deserve. When it comes to my activism, I've been an activist now for 7-8 years. So yeah.
Incredible. So when did you first start out being an activist?
When I was 14, I was part of the local youth councils within my locality. We were the largest, I think, youth local council. And we started working on a project which was about breaking the stereotypes so that we bring more awareness when it comes to inclusivity, especially within our community. And so that every youth there, whether you're Maltese, whether you're foreign, you are included within the community because it's your home at the end of the day. So I started at a very local level. Later on, then I started taking part of simulations like the MUN, the MEP, and then I ended up in KNZ.
Can you tell us about the mission and the goals of KNZ and how it has evolved since its establishment in 1992?
So this year in particular, it's about representing youths to see that there is the representation that everyone deserves, especially seeing the political climate. Youths are being very much vocal, especially during COVID. We had a lot of social media warriors, in my opinion. But when it comes to the physical act, when it comes to actually creating the politics that we deserve, the politics of policy, I think there's a lot of work to be done. We have student activism, but since COVID, everything diminished, physical activities diminished in such a manner, which is, for me, worrying. But I meet so many passionate youths every day, even at university grounds, I speak to youths one-on-one, even my friends, my closest friends. And there's so much potential, but people are not speaking up. So it's my aim, it's the council's aim, that we get those ideas and we tell, we call, we meet the stakeholders and tell them, listen, there needs to be done this, and this. I want that every voice to be heard, even if they're not interested in being part of an organization or if they don't want to go to that meeting or whatnot. I see that their voice is actually being heard by the stakeholders. It's so disappointing seeing such ideas because we are the future and we are the present. I believe that we are actually the present.
I agree.
Even though certain people say that we are the present. How can we be the present? We don't even know how to budget. We don't even, but ideas are fresh. We have so much innovative ideas, or even when what we learn at university level, we can get so many ideas. And even when we go abroad, best practices. And if we tell the stakeholders, listen, this could be done, and they actually listen, maybe the country can be a bit better.
I think it's very important that you're focusing on mobilization because, as you said yourself, a lot of people are kind of getting stuck at the social media level. So they speak out on that level. But then when it comes to actually going out there and fighting for what they deserve, it's quite lacking, I think, in Maltese society.
Agreed, definitely. And it's not only in Malta. like KNZ is part of two international organizations, the Youth Health Organization and the European Youth Forum, which is the largest organization within the world. And even there, if you speak to those countries, they tell you that youth aren't like being part of organizations. They're not doing anything voluntary unless it's paid, because either they don't have the time or there's not much commitment, but they have so much to say. And we just stay behind the screens. Like, why? Why though? And Malta being so small, like everyone knows everyone realistically.
Yeah.
Why stay behind that social media bubble? Why stay within the comment section when you literally can meet the minister or the prime minister within your streets? Be vocal, speak up. Like what's going to happen? Freedom of speech, you know?
Yeah.
So yes, and I get angry. I get so frustrated that we do not use this we're a small island state, and we have so many advantages of being a small island state, as much as we have disadvantages. Use those advantages, not only pinpricking. We are so negative about the small island state mentality when we can see it from another aspect.
Yeah.
The aspect where you can deliver.
Yeah, and you can use it to your advantage.
Exactly.
In terms of like the specific initiatives or projects that the council is currently working on, what is it doing to empower the youth of Malta and Gozo?
Currently, we're working on a multitude of events, on campaigns. This year, specifically, we focused a lot on health and we focused a lot on the arts and culture. On a yearly basis, like 4 years, we always focused on the environment. We're still focusing on the environment, especially that every year, 2 people from KNZ go to COP. And COP is a big thing. And as Maltese people, as Maltese youth, when we go to international conferences, we're somehow intimidating, because every time the youths that go there, the delegates that go there, are so knowledgeable, they're so good, that they impress people. And I'm not bluffing, it is something that every time I went abroad and every time my colleagues went abroad, they always tell us the same thing, that we're so bright and we're so energetic, and once they told us, you're so intimidating.
Oh, wow.
But in the sense that, because we're so bright and we know what we're saying and we know the global aspect, that we're so good. So currently we're working on the EU elections, so that we see that actually the vote 16, people who are 16 years of age go actually vote. But we want to do it in a different manner, in the sense that we make the events tailored for youth, not the lecture type, like, okay, go listen to all the MEPs or all the local councils speaking behind a podium and that's all. We're going to take a totally different approach. We've been to some training and at the European Parliament to see exactly what other people are doing, and we presented our ideas. So KNZ currently is working on the EU elections so that we can push the 16-year-olds to actually go vote, but vote with a critical mind, with a critical perspective. And we had some training at the European Parliament a few weeks ago, and we presented with our whole campaign. The ideas were welcomed, and there were so many organizations that told us that our ideas are very great, especially in a small island state. And we can't wait until it's launched, actually. We're also working on a type of youth awards event.
Oh, wow, nice.
So hopefully that will come into action. And we're also working on the critical thinking campaign, where we're going to literally educate people about critical thinking, about their rights. Because people, okay, we know that we have rights, but they do not know why that right is important. So we need to go back to the roots. Apart from that, we want to also educate a lot about sexual health in Malta. Sexual health in Malta, it's not old, like new news. We know that the sexual health policy is a bit outdated.
Yes.
But enough is enough.
It's very outdated and they've actually delayed it many times. And if you actually ask the ministry for an update on it, they are unable to give you one. And this was supposed to be launched years ago.
That and mental health.
Yeah.
I mean, those are our main pillars. We're working on other stuff as well. We're going to try that next year. We're going to bring a delegation of the South Youth Councils so that we can share best practices on these matters, on health matters. We cannot continue in this when delaying certain stuff because now we need it. It's now. So next year we're going to get a delegation from the South Youth Councils where we're going to speak about health. Like in Malta, mental health and sexual health have been delayed for quite a while. We're always working on strategies, but we're just putting a band-aid on certain stuff. And we need to think about the long-term effects. Like since COVID, we're trying to work on a strategy. The government is trying to working on a strategy on how to recover from COVID. And we're seeing the effects within our education. We're seeing the effects through the students that are starting schools, that are going to secondary. You're seeing it in university as well. You're seeing it through activism, through the voluntary sector, through everywhere. Everyone got affected when it comes to COVID. I mean, it was a global pandemic. But we're not seeing the long-term vision. And as KNZ, we want that there is a long-term vision, that we're actually taking action, not just words. So next year, those are, I think, the most important pillars that we're going to focus on.
So I think it's safe to say that youths, especially because you mentioned the vote 16, like you want to actually get 16-year-olds to go and vote.
Exactly.
Because even though it was introduced, I don't think they're very interested. I mean, it's safe to say that there's a massive lack of interest from youths when it comes to politics, and they kind of fail to realize that politics is what shapes our lives.
Exactly.
So how do you combat that as a council?
We want to remind people of the roots, from where it all started. As KNZ, we were always on the forefront when it came to accept the vote 16. We were the people who started with the motion, but without, like, it's useless to, okay, vote 16 passed, but where's the education? What are they learning at school? And in Malta, this is the disadvantage of being a small island state. We associate politics with partisan politics, either left or right or purple, blue, red, whatever. We don't see the real politics. The politics that all the youth are yearning for is the politics of policy.
Exactly.
And not only that even though there is policy, there's also someone saying that the policies are being followed, that there's actually that people are following the legislation. So that is what I want. And this is also what the council wants, that we remind people why. Why are youths important? Why are we the present? Why are we the future? Why is everyone pressuring me to vote? It's your right to vote. You need to make your voice heard and not say, because we have this mentality that I won't vote. Other people will vote. Don't let other people decide for you.
Yeah. As president of KNZ, you have a unique perspective on the priorities and aspirations of the youth in Malta and Gozo. What are some of the most pressing issues and challenges that young people are facing today, and how is KNZ addressing them?
So for sure, the top three are education, the environment, and mental health, for sure. So when it comes to the environment, we're seeing a construction boom in Malta, like everywhere you see a crane, which is an eyesore. It's eye pollution. There needs to be certain limits when it comes to construction. A thing that we're proposing, especially now that the budget has passed, we propose that we see where there are houses which people are not occupying, and see that we use that area. We use that already built area, not using another, like an area where you can build and you actually build it.
Yeah.
And we're also advocating for, if you're going to build an area which is within the development zones, you see that at least 1/4 of it is a green area.
Yeah.
And apart from that, okay, we see that the architecture that is like, so the construction site needs to still be matching with the Maltese identity. So not put a skyscraper in an area like Mdina, for example, where it's all history, you know, it's all about the Maltese architecture. So we need to be smart about how we do construction. We need to see that it fits with the Maltese architecture.
Yeah. And that goes hand in hand with mental health, right? Because there are a lot of people who either want to move away from Malta or have already made the decision just because of how claustrophobic the whole island is starting to feel, right?
Exactly. Apart from that, I mean, there's brain drain when it comes to mental health.
Yeah.
Mental health services, okay, we have free healthcare, but when it comes to mental health services, there's such a backlog. There's such a long waiting list. And mental health isn't something new. It's something that everyone has, everyone goes through it, but not everyone is aware that they're passing through that situation or through that phase because that they are facing this issue. So this year is the European Year of Skills.
Okay.
And we're advocating that there is some type of well-being training within schools. The fact that as psychologists and psychiatrists, we're very understaffed. I mean, me especially speaking from my bachelor's, everyone can tell you that only 4 people pass for the masters.
Wow.
Not pass. Only 4 people are selected for the masters every 2 years in Malta. So they eventually end up going abroad. We're losing people. We're losing psychologists. We're losing psychiatrists because they're deciding to go abroad instead of staying in Malta.
Yeah.
Because we're limiting the amount of people that can be selected for those masters. I understand to certain extents, but at the same time seeing that the country is crippling. You're seeing youths going through massive breakdowns, seeing youths going through depressive stages. I mean, they're a part of life. But help them cope with it by literally educating them, providing training. And this goes out to even youths who are working, who are not in tertiary education, who didn't continue with their studies. They went to work directly.
Yeah.
The workplaces should be literally obliged to train their employees to take care of themselves. Because
and to provide support
Exactly.
during difficult times.
If they don't have a healthy mind, they
Yeah.
cannot provide you with the work.
So you are very committed to various causes, like you've mentioned mental health, you've mentioned the environment, and it's very commendable. Can you share some of your most impactful experiences as an activist and how they have shaped your perspective and also kind of led to this journey of you being the president of KNZ?
So far, I have a lot of life experience. So seeing from what I've been through, what my friends have been through, and also seeing abroad. In KNZ, I mean, we go to a lot of conferences. We're invited to many conferences abroad. And recently, I've been selected for an opportunity in Salamanca from the Asia and Europe Foundation, where we spoke about AI and mental health. And I've learned so much in 3 days that I came to Malta and I was like thinking about it the whole time. Seeing how different, like the continent of Asia and how Europeans think is out of this world. Like the knowledge, it's amazing. Like it left me speechless and I'm still like speechless now. And what I want is that we actually get all the best practices and try to implement them. Like compared to other countries, we're so not backlogged, like we're so not developed, like at all. That
You think that there's kind of like backwards thinking and stuff?
exactly, and there's so much to do, so much. That it's literally like mesmerizing how like AI can help when it comes to mental health, how there is a lot of research that we can continue this research, how Malta can be a pioneer of this within Europe, because even though like we're literally a small dot on the map, the countries are looking at us. Everyone knows what we're doing. And if we share these best practices between us, we can go, we can literally excel so much. So I've been in KNZ for 2 years now. And my first experience abroad, I've learned about unpaid internships.
Okay.
And the amount of unpaid internships.
In Malta especially.
But in Brussels, it's much more.
Yes.
In the Brussels bubble,
Wow.
Brussels has the most unpaid internships compared to all of the EU. But seeing Malta, comparing Malta to Brussels, okay, we're way less. We have way less unpaid internships, but I immediately wanted to work on it. It made such an impact that I continued reviewing, seeing the policies, and especially that this year is the European Year of Skills. The European Commission and the European Parliament are going to ban unpaid internships. And obviously, I want that to follow in Malta. There's so many unpaid internships when it comes to HR, when it comes to communications, when it comes to media, when it comes to law. That is definitely one of the most impactful things that I genuinely want that Malta follows.
And it definitely doesn't empower students, as the majority of people that take internships would probably still be students. It's not very empowering to be doing. Doesn't send out a good message either.
Not at all. Everyone deserves to be paid for their work.
Yeah.
I get that you gain experience, but through gaining experience, through gaining exposure, does not pay the bills. Especially living in the world that we're living in, where inflation is there, existing, and everyone needs to survive. And what I'm seeing that every student is almost in survival mode, seeing how they're going to cope with life, how they're going to have fun, how they're going to balance the work-life balance. But then again, we have such a hustle mentality that we're always hustling, we're working, but we need to enjoy our 20s. We need to enjoy our teen years. If not now, when?
The final question for today. As a young leader, what advice do you have for other young individuals who aspire to become activists or advocates for important causes?
Be persistent. Be pushy. Be you. Don't, literally, do not get sucked in the negative mentality. Try to, life gives you lemons. Make lemonade. We hear that all the time. But literally, do not, we cannot shy away. We cannot stay quiet. If you stay quiet, if you're staying in your comfort zone, then you know you're in a bad place. You need to always get out of that comfort zone and you need to try. Even if you fail, but you need to try. And we need to stop with always saying negative things and do not come up with solutions. Come up with solutions. Pursue them. Go for it. If you are in your bubble, you're doing something wrong. There's nothing wrong in being in your comfort zone. But if you want to make a change, get up and do it.
Amen. Amen. Mariah, thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you to everyone who is watching at home. We've got some super exciting stuff in the pipeline. So stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe to The She Word.